Well, earlier we told you about some new comments President Obama made in a radio interview with Al Sharpton. The president suggesting that Republicans are leading this country into a frightening world where automatic budget cuts that he proposed and signed into law could endanger lives. And this, he claims, is all because the Republicans are united by this one thing, a desire to help the rich. Listen.
My sense is that their basic view is that nothing is important enough to raise taxes on wealthy individuals or corporations, and they would prefer to see these kinds of cuts that could slow down our recovery over closing tax loopholes. And that's the thing that binds their party together at this point.
Joining me now to discuss it, Alan Colmes, host of the Alan Colmes Radio Show, and Ben Ferguson, who's host of the Ben Ferguson Show with the Icon Radio Network. That is the thing that holds the Republican Party together right now, their desire to protect the rich. Your thoughts on that, Ben?
Yes, 7 out of the top 10 richest people in Congress happen to be Democrats. President Barack Obama is the one that got us in this crisis that we're in right now with these budget cuts, as you just mentioned, statistically. And he's sitting there playing this rich versus poor man card when he's the one that allowed payroll taxes to go up, which takes away 16 bags of groceries for an average working family right now in this country. So I look at the stats and say, you know, look at Nancy Pelosi. She didn't want to get a pay cut. In fact, she wanted a pay increase because she said even talking about lowering her salary right now is beneath the dignity of her job. So you tell me who actually is a rich person looking out for rich people. Republicans are looking out for average Americans.
Alan, the president, you know, was likely referring to congressional Republicans, although he didn't make that necessarily clear. But he was probably referring to those guys who he doesn't have a lot of use for. But is there a risk? Because, you know, he's taken a lot of shots at Republicans. They want dirty air. They want dirty water. They're suspicious of programs that feed poor children. And now this, the only thing that binds them together is their desire to protect the rich. Does he run the risk of alienating 42% of this country?
They've never taken a shot at him, have they? By the way, let me just correct something Ben said. The payroll tax cut was something that the president supported, and it wasn't a tax raise. The Republicans didn't want the payroll tax cut, which is only a temporary tax holiday.
People lost
which went
money.
back
Let's not get too far afield. It was a payroll tax holiday. We had the payroll tax. He gave us a holiday. He giveth and he taketh away. He and the Republicans did it. All right, let's just get back. If you can answer my question.
Yeah.
Does he run the risk of alienating 42% of the country who identify as Republican?
You run the risk of alienating people, but the fact is he's got most of the country with him. He's got a 52 to 53% approval rating. Congress has a 15% approval rating, and the Republican Party has a 35% approval rating.
He didn't limit it to Congress. I mean, I don't feel like you're speaking to my point exactly, because what I'm trying to get at is when he talks about how the only thing binding the Republicans together, that makes people say he doesn't understand me.
It may be true. Maybe the president should stay above the notion of attacking a party or attacking it all and just put forth his agenda without taking shots, because he's going to get yelled at by the other side the minute he says anything perceived as negative. But if you look at the substance of what he said, if you look at where the Republican Party stands for, other than let's cut taxes and let's cut spending, I haven't heard any other idea that unites the Republican Party. The Republican Party itself is not united now. You got Karl Rove, who honestly, correctly wants to get the most conservative person who can win, and these people taking shots at him, the party itself is disjointed.
Go ahead, Ben.
I love how you act as if the Republican Party being united on cutting government spending, where we're borrowing about 50 cents of every dollar right now that we're spending in this year's budget, is somehow a bad or unfair thing, and wanting to cut people's taxes as if that is somehow not some sort of warranted idea. The American people right now are paying an incredible amount of money to take care of a lot of people and a lot of government payrolls, and at some point there has to be cuts.
I think you missed the point of what I was saying.
As well as I can.
What I was saying was that's the only idea they have is cut taxes, cut spending. The president offered the Republicans $2.50 in cuts for every dollar in tax and revenue, and the Republicans turned that down. You got to have a combination of both.
But what the Republicans seem to be saying, Ben, is that what the president got at the beginning of the year is, billions of dollars in tax hikes and zero spending cuts, none. So he talks about a balanced approach, and how that's what he wants, but these Republicans only care about protecting the rich. But he got tax hikes.
Well,
he already got them, but there were no spending cuts.
I think part of this, though, is the classic example of this administration's way of selling this to the American people is you go out there and you fearmonger. I mean, you may have 3 or 4 hour lines when you go to the airport to go through TSA screening. You may lose school teachers. We may close down police, facilities. We're going to have 300,000 Americans lose their job in the military. All these cuts, automatic cuts that he keeps fear-mongering on, he acts as if nothing else can be on the table. And I think that's the part that the American people, they don't like the fear-mongering. They don't like that it's doom and gloom from this president if he doesn't get his way. And that's what he's saying is if you don't give me what I want, then I'm going to purposely do things in your life that you're going to hate. So you better give me my idea.
This is something, let's not forget, John Boehner and McConnell, they signed onto the sequester. The Republicans voted for sequester by a ratio of 2 to 1 in Congress. And again, he's got over 50% approval rating. Congress has 15%. So in terms of where the American people are, it doesn't seem like they're against President Obama right now.
They voted. The Republicans absolutely did vote for it. And so, both parties. What amuses me as a news anchor is to see them both like, it was that guy, it was that, and they both did it. They both did it. You don't get a law, with, in this divided government without having bipartisan agreement. That's what we have here.
Let's all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. That's what we do.
All right, and the rest of us are left holding the bag or not holding it, depending on how you view this issue. But the thing that interests me, Ben, apart from the sequester and whether we should have it, is the president seems to go back to this, just demonize the opponent repeatedly. He does that often, and there was an explicit promise he made when he was running for office back in 2008 that he would not do. He specifically said that he was not going to demonize his opponent. He was going to be a different kind of president. And then even in 2010, he said again, I haven't united the country enough. That's going to be my goal, is to unite us as Democrats and Republicans. And now he's coming out and saying, those Republicans, they only care about this one thing, and it's about protecting the rich.
And I think part of it is, I think part of it's messaging. I mean, when he talks to Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, he continues to use this blanket statement that all these rich people are against you and I'm the guy in favor of you. And he was speaking to that audience, which I'm not even sure the president actually believes that, to be honest with you. I think he knows that's how he sells this to the Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson world, which is every Republican is evil, rich, and white, and I'm fighting them, so be on my team. I think it's as simple as that on this one.
I don't think he ever said every Republican is evil, rich, and white. And again, what policy initiatives the Republicans have other than cut taxes and cut spending? What have they offered to put on the table? John Boehner says, let the Senate do it. John Boehner says, let the White House do it. And he doesn't come up himself with any solutions and points fingers to everybody else.
Alan, I think he's coming with some solutions. I just don't think that anybody at the White House gives a rat's rear end and doesn't read and doesn't want to talk.
I think we just went through a lengthy election where we heard Mitt Romney and others talk about the values that Republicans stand for, including limited government and traditional family values and so on. But listen, I do want to leave you with this. According to a recent Gallup poll, 1/3 of the nation's 1%, the richest, identify themselves as Republican. 41% are independents of the richest. 26% of the richest are Democrats. And of the 99%, 1/3 Dems, 39% independents, and 1/4 Republicans. So each group are pretty well split across the partisan classes. Guys, thank you both so much.